All right, well, good afternoon. We're pretty excited today. We have an alum with us. His name is Peter Lepiane, and he is a supervising United States probation officer. He's going to tell us a little bit about his Niagara experience, and then we're going to ask him a few questions about his chosen career path. So, Peter, thank you for being with us today. Can you tell me a little bit about why it is that you chose Niagara University?
Sure. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be speaking today. Niagara University, I chose, for all the reasons that you hear a lot of: the smaller campus, smaller class size, more one-on-one with the instructors, and their reputation of just being a caring about people, caring about the future, and caring about the community. And that's one reason why Niagara was my choice.
Perfect. So I understand that you were a criminal justice major for both your undergrad as well as your graduate work. So why did you choose criminal justice?
So I actually started off as a political science major with a minor in criminal justice. I wanted to be an attorney. I wanted to be a lawyer. That was my thing. I loved to argue. Um, I took some law classes, which were incredible classes, great instructors, and I found out about myself that I wasn't, quote, cutthroat enough to make it in that field. Is what I felt like. That it was a, you have to be pretty strong and able to do some certain things that might not, you know, fit well with you in the end. So I chose to swap major minor. Still took a lot of the law classes because I love them. And then the criminal justice for graduate school, it was because of the BSMS program that Niagara offers. It's an incredible way to save money and to get the graduate degree quicker. So once I heard about that program, I was like sold on that. And just the instructors really make the program. So all of my criminal justice professors, they brought a unique style to how they instructed. They brought prior experience into it, and they genuinely cared about developing you. So that was why I stuck with crim all the way through.
Perfect. So can you tell me a little bit about your NU experience? Did you complete some internships? Did you have a graduate assistantship? How did you kind of get to where you are today?
So I had all the above. Um, I commuted, so I didn't live on campus. I lived nearby, so I commuted um, to school, to classes. I was a junior. It was my late junior year. Yes, late junior year. And I went to my advisor and I said, what am I going to do with my life? Because I didn't know what I wanted to do. Um, and she gave me a piece of paper, which was a letter from my current employer, the U.S. government, U.S. Probation and Pretrial Services, and it was an internship offer. And she said, "Here, apply to this." And I didn't know anything about U.S. probation in general. I knew about probation and parole. You're taught that stuff, but I didn't know the government had their own probation system. So I was like, "Yeah, it sounds interesting." I applied for the internship and I received the internship. Um, and it just took off from there. So I interned here, and while I was that summer, I actually did a graduate assistantship with Dr. Harmon. It was incredible. It was researching clemency requests and wrongfully convicted people, and she was doing a paper on that. So I got to spend the summer doing that graduate assistantship. I also had another graduate assistantship with Dr. Ireland when he was still a criminal justice professor. Um, but he set me up with Weed and Seed in the community, which is like weeding out the criminals and the crime, and then planning community programs. And I did that for a summer as a graduate assistantship, and it was incredible as well, in different spectrums, right? So parole and probation, dealing with the law, the courts, and then also the Weed and Seed with dealing with the community. So both of those, actually, now that I'm talking about it, they set me up for what my career was as a probation officer, because we wear those different hats, those law hats and those social work hats, and we combine it in to one job. So those were my NU experiences and what I took advantage of while I was there on campus.
So in terms of your career, for some people, they might know a little bit about what probation work involves, but can you give us a little bit more detail about your day to day?
Sure. So, I started um, off as an intern here, and then I actually got hired the following year as a probation officer assistant. So the one thing about the federal government is you do not need to take civil service exams. So the local probation and parole, you'll see offered county probation officers where you'll see civil service exams, and parole is the same thing, New York State parole exams. Um, and we all do the same work. It's just different as you go through. For the federal government, I didn't have to. You don't have to, but you need some kind of prior experience. So I didn't have any prior experience. I was 23 years old. I was fresh out of college, but I had a master's degree. So without the master's degree from NU, I would not be sitting in front of you right now because they wouldn't have been able to hire me. Um, that was what counted as my 1 year of experience to get me in the door as an assistant, and that was 14 plus years ago. And then a year later I was promoted to a probation officer, and it's gone on from there. So in the beginning my work was a little different. What we do is we supervise individuals who are convicted or are pending convictions for federal crimes. So some of the federal crimes that we deal with, the border being so close, illegal stuff being brought up across the border, um, higher end, RICO conspiracies. You hear about those in the movies a lot, like those big conspiracies that happens with drugs and guns and violence. One of the most famous, the way I kind of explain it sometimes, is Michael Vick when he was convicted of the dog fighting years ago, the football player that was convicted of dog fighting years ago in a different state. That was a federal crime. So if he had come and played for the Bills, we would have been supervising him on what's called supervised release. So that's kind of the federal crime. Um, not, I would say 99% of our people are not famous, so that's kind of a famous example. But um, we do that. We supervise them post release from prison. We supervise them before they go to prison, while they're pending. They're still innocent and they're pending federal crimes. So there's different levels. But our main goal, honestly, is to protect the community. So there's certain ways to do that by having them abide by their conditions and make sure they're doing that, but also by helping them rehabilitate into the community. Because if they become better people and law-abiding citizens, it ultimately protects the community. So we wear, like I mentioned earlier, a couple of different hats. One day I have to be a social worker. The next day I got to be a law enforcement person. And the next day I might have to be a psychiatrist and a drug treatment and a GED counselor. And, you're doing all these different things. So that's kind of what we do. So it's not, so a lot of people will say, well, why, like, do you like what you do? And I do like what I do because it offers something different every day. Because I'll come to work and I don't know what's going to pop up. I don't know who's going to be in front of me. Um, what is going to happen. I get to go to court. I get to deal with other law enforcement agencies in the community. I get to deal with community agencies that are helping people get better, religious agencies that are helping in that respect. You get to meet a lot of good people and a lot of, you get to get a lot of resources to help people. So it's like a hodgepodge job. It's a good job to have, but that's basically what we do.
Perfect. So we know that COVID has kind of changed the way in which a lot of different careers function.
Right.
How has the COVID restrictions changed your job?
So we're statutorily by law required to do certain things, and that one of those things is to monitor people that are released on these conditions. So as much as COVID shut down the world, it doesn't shut down crime, right? So most people that aren't law abiding don't care about the orders to quarantine or anything like that. So we still were required to go out and monitor people at their homes, at their jobs. Um, Also, what a lot of our focus was just to check in with people to see how they're doing. You know, these people that we supervise on the post sentence side, like the ones that are already convicted, some people are like, oh, they're criminals, who cares? It's not like that. They're people who are trying to do better, and they might have had a job for a year and all of a sudden they don't have a job anymore. They were going to treatment for drug addiction, and all of a sudden those places shut down. GED, a lot of people that were making progress immediately halted. So COVID just kind of shut that down, and our officers had to be creative and check in. We obviously, the safety of our officers was most important, so we took the protocols to do that. Our main office, so I work out of the courthouse, the federal courthouse, which is downtown Buffalo, but we supervise all of Western District of New York. We have an office in Rochester as well. Our office was open the whole time, but very minimal traffic coming through. But you have to adapt because you're still required. You took an oath, like we take an oath to do a certain job, so we had to do it. And it's in the beginning was very tough. Then it kind of we got used to it, and now it's starting to come back again. So it's just adapt, but we're getting it.
Perfect. If you were talking to somebody that had an interest in federal probation as a career, what are some of the experiences that they should try to gain as a college student to better position themselves for a career such as your own?
The best advice I like to give students is take as many classes in different fields. So like I took a class with an ATF agent. I took a class with a federal U.S. attorney. I got different perspectives. And then I also took political science classes, and I took social justice classes and law and corrections classes. Even though I didn't want to be a corrections officer, you got the different perspective. So it makes you a well-rounded person. My advice would be to do that. Take as many classes as you can in different areas. Like don't focus all on one. Like criminal justice, one of the best parts about the program is it offers, there's a lot of adjunct professors, but there's also the professors, the doctors that are there, they teach a wide variety of classes. So you can get a lot of, and then you can also reach out to different like sociology or psychology and ethics and get different perspectives. So my advice is to just take as many different courses as you can that prepare you for different areas that may come your way. That's what I would do.
And so it's my understanding that you are now an adjunct faculty member on our campus. Yeah. And is there anything that really stands out to you about our NU students?
So I've been doing that. It's incredible. I've been doing that for like 10 years now. NU was great. They allowed me kind of to take what I do and make it a class. It's called Alternatives to Incarceration, but it really gives you a good perspective of what we do here in federal probation. NU students that take that class, most of them take it because it's funny. They'll take it because I don't make them buy a book. And they find out, okay, he's in the profession he's in, so he's speaking from experience. They usually get there and they have no idea what they're getting into, and by halfway through, most of them will say, wow, I never even thought about probation. So what I found about NU students that I like the most is they're very open-minded. Like none of them take the class and it's like, okay, a check mark, I had to take this. Some will say I had an elective, so I took this one because I heard good things or whatever. But they're very open-minded. They're not like, well, I'm not going to do probation or parole, so I don't care about what this person is teaching. Or they're respectful of other people who might be interested in that field, and they'll participate. So I would say very open-minded and also very focused. Like most of them have a plan for what they want to do or what area, and they will do what they need to do to get there. So open-minded was my number one thing. I like that they're very open to new ideas, and then they will dial it in. They'll focus in on what they need to do, which is great.
So if you were to give any advice to prospective students, so students that are considering Niagara, maybe they haven't made their decision yet, do you have any like closing message to them or anything that you'd like them to consider while they're making that college choice?
So I would, if they are able to, try to reach out to somebody who has an NU experience that can give you the truth, like the lowdown and dirty on the great stuff about NU. And I also would tell them that if you're looking for, and they probably hear this a bunch of times, but it's the truth. If you're looking for something that's smaller, the classroom sizes are smaller, the instructors are available to you. Like the instructors are going to know your name. You're not just another number. You're not just filling a seat. They're going to know your name, even if you don't speak up a lot, even if you're like timid and you kind of just want to soak it up and learn, they're still going to know your name because there's not that many students that they grade their papers and they review um, any presentations. So they're going to know who you are. And that's a good thing because you make contacts then that for me have, if Dr. Harmon, who was my advisor, if she didn't know my name in that class, and I wasn't like, outgoing or it wasn't anything special about me, but she knew my name. The fact that when I went to her and I said, what am I going to do with my life? She's got a million students and she said, do this. I wouldn't be sitting here. So that, personal relationship that you might develop, I don't know if that would happen at a bigger school for me. So if you're looking for that connection or just making friends in general, like I have people there that I still talk to. I went to school with someone who's now a county judge, a city judge, excuse me. Um, and other law enforcement agencies that have helped me along the way. You make those connections, they remember you. If you're in a big school, they might not remember, oh, I took ethics with Pete Lepiane. But they do that because they're small. The class sizes are the biggest thing about NU for me, and the instructors caring. So my message would just be talk to somebody. And if you can't talk to somebody, then just go spend a day on campus or do something and you'll see the difference between the small community and the larger one.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that advice. Who knows, maybe some of the students that get an opportunity to see this, they'll be sitting in your class one day letting you know that they saw your video.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.